Okay. Okay, we'll call the meeting to order, please. First of all, I just wanted to check and see if there's any late edition items. Anybody got any late edition items? Okay, no late edition items. So we need to look at approval of the agenda. So everybody's got a copy, yes? Okay. Seconder
No, oh, well, I want to make an amendment.
to the agenda?
Yes.
Okay. Go ahead, tell me.
Okay, well, if you're moving the agenda, I can second it. But what I would like to have is a motion on the agenda somewhere that deals with process of how we function and how we report to the council, if that's in order.
What we have is the minutes from our meeting and everything that we recommend here or goes to council. So all of our recommendations that we make here go to council in the form of minutes from this meeting.
And that's what troubles me with respect to.
In what way?
Because the minutes are, for one, it's a record of our meeting, but there may be comments from an individual that make it into the minutes, but are really not supported by anybody else on the council, and it might show as a, you know, it's just another way for the council to have to go through the minutes and extract what really they want to do, and I'm probably out of order because you haven't accepted the motion. I shouldn't be talking to it.
Yeah, go ahead, Amanda.
Can I make a suggestion? Maybe under item B, items for discussion, we could add an item B, and that could just be a process discussion.
Sure.
And we could maybe clarify how the discussions at this table make their way to council. Is that,
Okay.
Yeah, so we could do an agenda as amended if you want.
Awesome.
Item B, okay.
Thank you. So
Okay.
we'll add that on as an item B in items for discussion. Okay.
Okay,
So again, can I have a motion to approve the agenda? Okay, and a seconder, all in favor? Okay, thank you.
And that's as amended with the extra item, right?
Yes.
Yes, okay.
Okay, so next we have the adoption of the minutes. So this is the minutes of our Advisory Planning Commission meeting of October the 4th. And has everybody had an opportunity to read them? If not, please have a look at them now.
I have a question on the minutes. The minutes of a meeting are sort of a timeline of what we do, when we do it, as we proceed through. And I mean, no disrespect to the people taking the minutes, but this is more like a summary of what we did rather than a depiction of what we did. There was one point, and it's just, when I was looking through it, I thought I'd take the minutes and go through the Zoom recording. And that's when I remembered making a fairly lengthy comment about the adequacy of our services for development. You know, the council has to at one point start considering, are we going to have enough water? Are we going to have good waste treatment? And does the fire department have a truck that can, you know, I made that point at that time. That's not even in the minutes. So, and I mean, as I said, it's not vanity on my part. If it isn't in the minutes, not in there. It's not a big thing. I'm not looking for Hansard, but I'm looking for something that is more of a, as we go through the comments, especially in view of your comments about the council using our agenda. Several points were made in there in the minutes, and you consolidated a lot of comments. It was a summary of what we did, but it wasn't what happened and in the order it happened. So it's just a minor point, and I'm just looking for a sort of a halfway a point, and with perhaps when we deal under new business with process, I think in that. So I'm not going to say we shouldn't approve the minutes. I'm not gonna at all. But I would like to see the minutes more like a minutes of the meeting. Just a point.
Okay, so that will be minuted. But we would like to see a more complete set of comments as it progresses through the meeting.
Well, as I said, if it's a summary of what we said, it's a summary, then it's not the minutes of our meeting. You're okay? And it may contain the same information, but as I said, it doesn't, it's not minutes.
Okay. So we've got the comment in there that we would like to see more detail from the minutes, aligning with the progression of the meeting and the chronology of the meeting.
The chronology, yes, because
Okay,
the detail is there, but it was just sort of put together. And
so with that comment added, do we have a motion to adopt the minutes?
Yeah.
And do we have a seconder? Seconder, all in favor? Okay. Yeah. So we come up to item number 5, which is the item for discussion, the report of the planning consultant. Ken, please.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. This evening, we're here to talk about a potential application at 259 Hot Springs Road. The zoning amendment bylaw proposes to change the current floor area ratio from 1.5 to 1.8, change the lot coverage from 75% to 89.39%, and change the building height from 15 meters to 17.61 meters. Based upon a review of the village's official community plan, the site is within the village center designation and within the Lakeshore Development Permit Area. The Lakeshore Development Permit Area is a form and character permit or development permit area, which talks about deciding what it could look like, all of those sorts of things. As per the village's zoning bylaw, the site is zoned as Village Commercial 1 and is bounded by Littlewood Avenue to the north, Hot Springs Road to the west, and Cedar Avenue to the south. The site itself is approximately 1.01 acres or 4,062 square meters in size, and currently contains a motel, 25 RV sites, a tent camping area, and a small restaurant. All existing buildings or structures are to be demolished when the development application is approved. The surrounding uses include restaurants, hotels, a gas station, and the Harrison Resort mineral pool. The site is relatively flat, is fully serviced, and is accessed by vehicles off of Hot Springs Road. The site has a historical marker attached to a fence indicating that this site was once the home of the Elliott Nursing Home in 1902. The owner wishes to retain the sign and the fence. It will be attached to the new development. The development proposal itself is they're looking at developing 76 multi-unit residential building, and this proposal includes 1 level of above ground parking and 4 stories of residential units above this level. The applicant is proposing to develop a private internal courtyard for the building residence use only. The parkade entrance will be off of Cedar Avenue, and the pedestrian entrance will be off of Littlewood Avenue.
No. It's off of Cedar also.
Okay, I'm sorry, I'm just going by the reports that were
Yeah,
given to me.
that was my
Yeah.
last
Okay,
The main entrance is off of Cedar Avenue, facing the settler pump.
okay, thank you. The dwelling units will range in size from 596 square feet to 1,255 square feet. The required number of parking stalls for the site size of development is not 93, it's 95. With this number of required stalls, the number of disabled persons parking is 6. However, with the applicant, they've indicated that there's going to be in excess of 100 vehicles parked with 7 tandem stalls. So this exceeds the required 95 parking stalls. The public realm improvements at this particular point in time, none has been offered by the developer. And I've just summarized some of the planning tools at this point in time, like the floor area ratio or the FAR. And the FAR is often used to express development intensity of non-residential land, such as commercial uses or industrial uses. And you can use it for the clustering to address the mass of the site, or if there's an environmental issue, you can put everything into one corner. You're still entitled to have this much density, but you can't spread it across the entire lot because there might be an environmental issue that's very important in it that the community wants. So you put it all into a corner or away from the environmental. So instead of spreading it out across, you just go up in one little small area. So basically, you're looking at addressing the mass of the site, the scale of the site, or to protect any environmental issues. Unoccupied areas such as garages, hallways, linen closets, those sorts of things are not generally calculated in the floor area ratio. The purpose of the lot coverage is a tool to control the scale of development. So instead of having 100% across the lot, we're only going to allow 30%, 40% lot coverage. That's the scale of it. And the type of, then the building height tool controls the overall height of the building or structure. Architectural elements that do not add floor area to a building or structure, such as walls, chimneys, or parapet walls, chimneys, vents, and roof equipment, are not considered part of the height of a building. In the village's zoning bylaw, the following are also included: communication towers, domes, flagpoles, elevator shafts, and stairs and hose towers. In terms of accessibility, the project must meet the BC Building Code requirements for universal accessibility as per the Building Access Handbook of 2014, and that's a provincial document. The council has reviewed this application, and they have said it's to be referred to the Advisory Planning Commission, the village's fire department, and the Ministry of Transportation and Infrastructure. So we're talking about process. All of these comments have to come back to the planning department before we can set up the public hearing. The developer has prepared a SEPTED review report dated May 23, 2023. The author of this report has utilized the 4 key principles: natural surveillance, natural access control, territoriality, and maintenance and management. While the report has been finalized, staff at this time have not had any discussions with the developer to discuss the implementation of the SEPTED recommendations. Upon a review of the title, there's no flood covenant currently registered on the parcel. This issue will need to be addressed before any actual development takes place. And as I mentioned earlier, council has reviewed this application, and the part of the process was they authorized the developer to set up a public notification meeting, which has not been done yet. But overall, there are 5 major issues or concerns, and that's staff issues. The change of the lot coverage from 75% to almost 90% could impact the current stormwater drainage and direction of the stormwater flows, as well as the intensity of the development and the overall neighborhood character. The village can ask the developer to provide additional information on this issue after the holding of the public notification meeting or as council requires. The second one is because it's going from a very small scale tourist operation to a multi-unit heavier density, the traffic patterns and flows could change along Hot Springs Road and the adjacent Cedar and Littlewood Avenues. The village could ask the developer to provide some additional information to look at this in greater detail, or at the same time, we can, maybe the Ministry of Transportation, because it's been referred to them, may come back with some additional comments. From a community safety perspective, the bylaw, the draft bylaw has been referred to the fire department so that they can review it, see if there's any emergency issues that have to be addressed or any firefighting concerns. There's no indication of any affordable housing units that may be made available within this development. And the last thing, Mr. Chair, is the lack of any public realm improvements. And this evening we have Mr. Andrew Baziak, who's going to lead us through his presentation. And then once his presentation, or perhaps you'd like questions through it, I don't know, you have the opportunity to ask questions or ask him to clarify any point further.
Okay, thank you very much. At this point, we'd happily receive your presentation.
Okay,
Thank you.
First, I prefer seating because I'm old, my feet are not strong to stand full time, I don't wanna do that.
That's fine.
Okay.
Yeah.
One second. I'm just gonna intercede because I know he's gonna forget about it. But this was drawn up during the COVID days. And we thought that having no interior corridors was the way to go. Because people, they feel more comfortable being up in the open air and whatever. So what we basically did is we designed it in the shape of a donut all the way around the whole entire circumference. You go up the elevator and you exit to the outside. So these are not apartments, they're actually going to be individual homes that are stacked. You go to your front door like you would to any home, you open your door and you're there. And the walkways are going to be 8 feet wide so that there's lots of room for disabled scooters or whatever to pass each other. And so we're hoping, this is how we envisioned the project, so as to minimize the contact and make it more of a safer community.
Okay, having said that, I'll start with describing the building. As it was pointed out, the center is, entry point is the middle of Cedar Avenue in the south. And that, the reason why that was chosen is because there's a dip in the road there to take advantage of those 18 inches and then different. And you count the elevation for the height of the building, the 4 corners. So we got a bonus by being 18 inches below the Cedar Avenue. Now, why Cedar Avenue? Why not Hot Springs Road or Lillooet Avenue? The answer is simple. The Hot Springs Road is a public highway. Lillooet is a public highway. And I think the Highways Department is going to be very glad that the one entrance off of Lillooet and 2 entrances to the site off of Hot Springs Road are removed. And a 3rd or 4th entrance point from Cedar Avenue is just going to get moved over. So we have only one really entrance point for the site, and that is in the middle of the block in Cedar Avenue, opposite the old Settler Pub. Any questions on that?
Not yet, please continue.
Okay. Where do I go from here?
Where there's gonna be an amenities building, that's how many?
1,500 square foot amenity building on there, and that amenity space is actually on the 2nd floor above the parkade entrance, car entrance. And the reason why there, because it's very nice view over top of the old Settler Pub and looking to the south. And that amenity, why is it private and not public? Well, we do have a neighbor called the Old Settler Pub, and that pub is a big pub. It's being expanded now. We have to make sure that we don't get the users of the pub too excited about having a space to sleep around various places, and including our own private space on the 2nd level.
Being as close to the Settler Pub as we are, and also operating the Glencoe Motel, we have had, there's been a lot of loud, when pub doors close, the people kind of spill out. We've had people urinating on our lawns. We've had, so we don't want to make more of a park for these people that they can just settle in there and enjoy the rest of the evening on our lawns.
Yeah, I've got a question from one of your drawings, and this has come from drawing A1.2. And on that drawing, it has indicated the proposed building, and then in brackets, it says phase 1.
Okay.
We're
Can you
still toying
explain?
with it. We're still toying with it. We were thinking perhaps doing the east building 35 units first. It all depends on, a lot depends on financing. We haven't discussed it with financing. We haven't discussed it with builders yet as to whether this is even viable.
So basically leaving it open, that's the
Yeah.
idea. It's not, I would like to see everything go at once, because I mean, to start half a building and then to restart it again, on the second half of the building is, it's more expensive.
So when we say that the building has X number of units, that is the total project, that's not
76 is the total price.
the total project. And so when it says phase one on the drawing, you're anticipating that's gonna be all the 70 some odd units?
Well, no, I mean, phase one is not all, the phase one will be 35 units or 34 units, a portion, but roughly half. And either the east half or the west half. We're gonna make it, the east half would be the first one, which is the one that's not on Hot Springs Road. It should be the one backing onto the other campground.
So the first point of clarity that I would like recorded is that there be a description of what is the phasing of the project, because that's showing a phase one on here, yet it's showing the total development footprint. And as we know, when developments start out and only a portion of it gets built, then the final fit and finish of the project isn't achieved until the total project's in place. And so if a partial project goes up, then what does the remainder of the lot look like if it doesn't get pulled forward immediately? And so just if you would, it's important from the community's perspective that optically the fit and finish of a project fits in with what we want the community to look like. And so there needs to be clarity on what the phasing is and what gets built at what time, so that the council can review that and have that information when they go forward.
Okay, I would like to tell you, sorry.
Yes, go ahead.
Mr. Chairman, through you, if Mr. Bazio, I'm handicapped considerably with my part-time hearing aids right now. I had to switch the last minute, my other ones. So if it's possible, if you could speak a little louder, almost to the point, because I lip read, and all right now I've only understood what I've been able to lip read. I'm sorry about that, but
Okay, personally, I am the architect on the job, but I'm also one of the owners. So there's a conflict there for me to some extent. I would much prefer to see that built under one swoop.
I think we all would, yeah.
Yeah, and that I think is essential to work towards it. I don't want to see this phased, because I don't want the town to be looking at half a building. What we discussed, if there is phasing, the parkade structure would be built first throughout the whole thing, so there wouldn't be a parkade structure. So you would see the parkade and the eastern half of the building built.
But what you've shown us here is a complete
Yes,
project.
yes,
And so when we look at the fit and finish of the project and how it fits into the community, that's what we're seeing. That's what our comments to council will be.
Yes,
And that's what they will be looking at when they make their decision on what goes forward. So it's very important that that question of phasing be dealt with, because we don't want to see a partial project built in in one of the most prominent intersections.
then help us with the financing.
Not my issue. Please.
If I can ask, if there was phasing here, looking at this picture here, how would the phasing take place? Because you have the garage door right down the middle here.
Yes.
And
the way it would look would be, the garage door, it would be built up to here. Because this
so
is the entry
east-
for the
East
second.
would be this way, right?
It used to
east,
be
yeah.
that way. The garage would be in there. The building here would not. But then starting from here all the way up and including the elevator here.
So half of the underground parking would not be built
No,
in phase
no,
one?
all of it.
All of the underground,
Yes.
up to the podium level, what we
Yeah.
call on top of the roof of the parkade, that is all first part of the first stage.
Yeah.
So then only would be this part, this
Yes,
up here.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it would be like taking a power saw and cutting it right through the middle from north south for the buildings that are built on top of the parkade. But the parkade is first short. Yeah, I don't want to be pouring concrete twice.
So that's
Yeah.
falls in with what you were saying here. It's
Yeah.
important to have that outlined.
And my second question related to, it's not really related to the phasing, but one of the things that happens when these packages come out is we see a footprint of what the building is gonna be on the property. But until you showed that large plate that you sent around, the actual layout of the floors was not known. And so one of the things that would be very helpful for us and for council is when you bring an application forward, is that you present in advance the elevation drawings as well as the floor plans for the facility. And the third thing is to tell us what type of construction it is. Is it a concrete and steel construction, or is it a wood frame construction on top of a concrete parkade? Some detail of that
Okay.
is very helpful for both us and for council, because I know that this is, we're talking about a bylaw
Amendment.
a revision in here, but it's also for us to comment on the nature of the project going forward and give our comments to council. And without some of the information in that regard, it's difficult to do so. And we want to make sure that we're giving our best advice to council.
I agree with you. I don't have any problems with it, but at the same time, I've been told that keep this to the issue of the bylaw amendment.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to do what you want, and you're asking me for all the juicy things. I'd gladly tell them all to you. I'd like to go into the details of
Yeah.
that. Joe.
Right now, it's going to be a concrete parkade on top, and then it'll be a wood structure going
Wood
up.
frame.
Wood frame structure going up.
Okay, thank you. And I probably annoy the planners when they're talking about bylaw issues, because I tend not to stop there because I deal with this every day. Yes,
One quick question, this rendering here,
Yes,
and it's very helpful to have a rendering because
yes.
you can't tell, but is this on Lillooet side or on the?
What you're seeing is a Settler Pub side.
It's facing the parking lot of the Settler Pub.
The main entrance there that you see, the garage doors and the
Yeah.
amenity area, they're facing the center.
This is,
On the parking lot of the Settler Pub.
That's what it's facing.
Oh.
Facing.
so what's this street?
Cedar
Cedar.
Avenue.
Cedar,
Yes,
okay, so you don't have a rendering of what it's like on Lillooet?
We do have a rendering, but it's not here because we didn't
Oh,
want
this
to bring
one,
it because
On the back.
okay.
So,
on Lillooet,
I
there
got you,
is.
so this is on Lillooet?
Let's have a look. This is Hot Springs Road.
Yeah,
That's Hot Springs Road. And this is Cedar.
and that's
This is the
Cedar,
corner.
okay. Hot Springs Road and Cedar,
Yes. And this is Cedar Avenue. This is facing the parking lot of the Settler Pub.
okay. So you don't have the rendering then for what's on Lillooet?
I do actually.
Well,
One second here. I will show you.
You should show.
I will, yeah, that's a good idea. One second here. There we
you know,
go.
with all respect, if we can't all see it, I'm not sure that,
She's gonna share it with everybody.
Yeah, I'll share it with everybody. Okay, that'll be Lillooet.
thank you.
There's only an emergency exit off of Lillooet. It's not a main entrance.
I think, and this is on Zoom, correct? This is on Zoom, yeah. Okay, thank you. So for the purpose of people who aren't here and unable to see this, I think there needs to be a mechanism so that the project, and I know it'll come up at the public, at the public level meetings, but they need to see the entire structure.
You have the 3D on every side.
What are these here? Which is what? Oh, just for ivy to grow or something up against the walls. Okay.
Okay.
Okay. Okay,
Thank you.
That's the Lillooet side and that's Hot Springs Road side.
Thank you. The next question I have, and the reason for this question is that when you look at the building and how it lays out on the property, and this does directly relate to the bylaw amendment, is that the building itself seems to take up almost the whole floor plate of the property
That's correct.
with very, very little space around it for any landscaping. The landscaping is minimal, and even in your rendering, it shows it as minimal. And I understand why you might want to do that because of the pub situation next door. But one thing I did note that is on Lillooet Avenue, you have the space between the sidewalk and the building indicated as gravel. And on the drawings, right here, it says gravel.
I think our landscape architect just didn't finish that part.
Well, and that's my comment.
And the reason being is because Lillooet Avenue, we needed some feedback. Because the town has a lot of trees on there and we don't know what your intentions are for the trees. And we'd like to work with somebody, with the town, in order to plan further the landscaping.
This raises a question of working with landscape architect on everything around our site. Along the north side, there is a row of poplars, there's like 25 of them, and they're getting big, and they're well within the between the property line and the sidewalk. And then right on the property line, there's a row of cedars. Do we keep those or not? The poplars, do they stay or not? Because they look very scruffy. On the south side, we have a similar problem. We have 3 huge trees. Mr. Allen would love them. They're both this size in diameter as the stem. And if a good wind blows, I am afraid that they will land on the parking lot of Cedar Avenue because that's the direction of the wind. And one tree is extremely dangerous.
The point that I wanted to make was, with such a large footprint of a building on the property, with very little room for landscaping, there should not be any areas within the property that are left as gravel. You should have landscape architects properly and effectively utilizing all the space between the public sidewalks and the building itself, so it adds to the fit and finish and the
It'll be
ambiance.
very attractive. One of the things that I know John Allen was concerned about, and he mentioned, you know, that he thought that the building was on the property line of Hot Springs Road. That's actually not true. From the sidewalk, the property line, it's 19 feet into the wall. 19 feet is a long distance.
That's not a question from this advisory planning
No,
commission.
but it's, the landscaping will be
Yeah,
there.
we're gonna tackle the things that we've looking
Sure.
at from our commission. if
Sure.
we will. Thank you. Yes, Judy.
I would like to comment on something that Ken said, that this is in an area, you described it as part of the village centre area.
OCP designation, yes.
Okay, and I am concerned with that, in that it's the entrance into the lake, it's coming down Hot Springs. I don't see any real redeeming features in here which attract people to walk, down through and enjoy part of Harrison Hot Springs.
Can we back up just a little bit, please? We're getting a little bit off track here, Mr. Chairman. We're not talking about the development permit. What we're talking about tonight is just the zoning amendment bylaw.
I understand.
And that's the only, like, I understand where you're coming from. These are valid questions. There's no doubt about it. But we're just here to talk about the zoning amendment and what are the impacts if we allowed this to happen? What are some of the things that we need to look at?
Mhm.
Yes.
And this is what I'm
And-
saying too.
Yes, I understand that. And as I said, we're in the forming character development permit area.
Yeah.
And that's another step.
But isn't this is not part of this meeting today?
No. No,
So when does that get addressed?
that gets addressed. If the council accepts this amendment bylaw, then we move it into the development permit stage. And then all of the conditions that are addressed in the current official community plan have to be addressed. And then once council sees that, if they're comfortable with it, then they issue the development permit.
And if I may just a point of order on that. Because the Advisory Planning Commission does not get consulted in the development permit process, and we have the opportunity to make comments about the development. And I understand what you're saying, but there are some things that, and going to your comment earlier, we would like some of our observations and concerns minuted in our minutes, our formal minutes, so that when it does go for development permit, when it does go before council, they have our information to add to that for consideration. And I think we're within our rights to do that.
The development permit guidelines speak to all of these things already. So
I understand
I
what you're
know
saying.
we're gonna have to disagree on this, to agree to disagree, because I know you're standing on the development permit side of things, but the way the development permit works, except for the city of Vancouver, there is no public input into the development permit side of things, because it's been adopted through the OCP process. It's already gone to the public. The public has accepted it, even though it's X number of years old, 17 years old at this particular point in time.
I hear what you're saying, but I do know we have some comments and we're gonna get them minuted. And then we will put the recommendation forward to council.
In which case, can I have my comment?
Yes,
Thank you.
yes, and it's.
Well, may I
and it's
comment?
gone,
Is that gone?
yeah. And then I had another question for you on this. These units are, there's no description. Are they intended as purchase units only, or were you intending on any of this being rental?
There's going to be some rental. That's the reason why we have more units than what we would normally have, because instead of really large units, which only individuals can purchase, and nobody's going to be purchasing an $800,000,
$1,300 square foot.
a 1,300 square
Because-
foot unit, and rent it for $2,500 a month.
So our comment in this regard is the same as the last project that we met on, is that we would caution council against looking at short-term rentals and that they would not be desirable for our community.
I agree with you, but what I would like to point out is that the way the zoning bylaw works, and this refers first to the density thing. Right now, we've designed a very efficient parking lot, right? And this efficient parking lot then gives us an area that we can have units in building, right? So maximizing that, we looked at it and we said that the density allows us right now 63 units. That's what, if I'm not mistaken, that's what came back, that 63 units are allowed. And what that would mean was that the average unit size would increase from our about 800 square feet to about 10 or 1,200 square feet, or even 1,300 square foot units. And we can see down the other end of our block, there's a building that went up 5 years ago or 6 years ago that has huge units and now doesn't work at all. And it is now used as a hotel, and there's nobody in their right mind would rent a 3-bedroom unit hotel except garage from a Chilliwack wanting holiday and so forth. So it's a really wrong use, and units are too large, they don't sell. And
Our comment is strictly that we're putting in advice to council
Yes.
to be cautious about the idea of short-term rentals. That's what hotels and motels are for the village, yes.
Sorry, but in the C1 zone, what they're in right now, the council has determined that only C1 zones will have short-term rentals.
So the short-term rentals are allowed in this.
Yes. It's already in the zoning bylaw. They're not allowed in the residential area.
And this is in consideration of the new provincial statutes.
Provincial
against it.
statutes are exempt for us because we're in a rural or resort municipality initiative, and we're less than 10,000 individuals. So it comes back to the village's zoning bylaw requirements.
so one of the things about that further, everybody says we have not provided anything for the needy people in town. And the needy people are there. And what we want because we have smaller units, they're the cheaper units, they're smaller units and therefore
The more affordable.
they're more affordable because you pay for square footage. And so we do address that very well. We got economical units.
Yeah.
And
We've taken some of our larger units and we basically divide them in half so that we can basically cater to the rental of people actually working in Harrison Hot Springs, you know, a couple or a single person. It's a smaller unit, it's more affordable. In fact, we've been approached by people who wouldn't mind buying some of these units and turn them into rentals so that they're, so they could service the people who are working in town.
Okay.
Chairman. Can I
Yes.
ask a question here? I think this relates to the zoning because of the increase in footprint. One of the things that concerned me about the diagram that I saw just on the two-dimensional drawing was that all of the edges of the decks from the top, everything was pushed right basically to the property line.
Mhm.
On the outside. What space there is in the courtyard. And that is why the building itself doesn't take up as much percentage, etc., as it might otherwise. But if this is the case, I thought there was a question of setbacks in a property like this, that there would have to be a certain amount of distance between the building itself or the overhang. Because if you look around on every four sides,
the
the
zoning.
decks come right up almost basically right to the property
I'm
line.
sorry, Harrison zoning bylaw says 0 setbacks are required on Lillooet, on Cedar Avenue and on Hot Springs Road. 0.
It's, if I may, Mr. Chair, and anywhere that's zoned C1 has got a 0 lot line. But there's certain circumstances that a setbacks of 7.5 meters is required if abutting against a residential use or is a residential
And
use.
that's what I thought would
But
apply.
that's the rear setback and the exterior setback.
We've met the setbacks on the abutting property line.
Well, the setback on the abutting property line, because it is not a residential, it's a legal
Okay.
non-conforming use, and it's a,
Thank you. I just want a little bit further explanation
Yes.
here.
Then where this gets checked is when the building permit application comes in. The Fraser Valley Regional District will refer the building permit application to us with a planning review sheet. We go through that planning review sheet and say, this is what the required setback is, this is what they're doing. And then at the bottom, we say, we need information X, Y, and Z, or it's okay to proceed through your approvals process.
Could I ask who "we" is in that? Could I ask, who-
It's this village office,
is it this committee that it comes back to?
No, it's a building permit that comes to staff. And it's talked about amongst staff,
Okay, no, that's because you just said "we" and I didn't know.
sorry,
Yes.
we have internally, we have a development committee consisting of the corporate officer, the CAO, the deputy CAO, the manager of operations, and myself, and we sit down and look at all of these things.
And I know in the page 34 of the document that was, I guess this, I'm looking at the one that went to council, so excuse me for the page number. But the agency referrals, one is going to the Ministry of Transportation and Infrastructure. And we have the parkade entry and exit off of Cedar. And the point that I wanted to bring forward is that the exit from Cedar onto Hot Springs Road, especially in the summer, is an extremely busy intersection.
Mhm.
And trying to make left-hand turns out of that intersection is difficult. So the thing that just for council to consider is that if this goes forward, there may need to be a traffic directive, which pushes the traffic only to the east so that they exit on Lillooet and then come back, because trying to exit out onto Hot Springs Road will be very difficult. It's
it
an
might
extremely,
Yeah, they might require traffic lights.
Well, the traffic lights
Be too close.
within a half a block of the traffic lights are there. I don't think you'll see transportation do that, but it may be a case where you have to have exit going to the east on Cedar and then come out on Lillooet. Just a point for council to consider when they're looking at
We
that.
we have noticed just recently that the Settler Pub has been approved for 100 more,
170,
or
no,
100.
more
They're
drinking.
looking at making their patio a permanent fixture. It was deemed temporary during the COVID situation, and now they have that option to make it into a permanent situation.
Which means across from the road from our place, there will be 100 more drunks at midnight.
But
And they all need toilets.
No, but they'll all be in cars and they'll be needing to exit as well. Whereas people, the 76 units, most of them will be sitting at home. Some of them will be coming and going from grocery shopping or whatever, but people for the pub, I would say that there's gonna be a bit of a traffic issue there. So you might have to, I think your idea to reroute them going east and then out, that might be a solution.
I think that the Department of Highways will love this because, I mean, they're looking right now, the situation is in our motel, we do have that left turn out of our main driveway right in the middle of Hot Springs Road. And I sometimes have to make the decision myself, I'm turning right rather than left, trying to leave the town that way. Because it is impossible.
It might be having a no left turn off of Cedar onto highway.
Well, I think the thing that we can say is we point out the difficulties of Cedar left turns onto Hot Springs, and that the transportation study needs to consider that, so council can look at that piece. And Ken, could I ask you to read out the text amendment again for the bylaw, because it's time for us to look at that.
Sure.
Okay, maybe you see your question first?
Yeah, so you mentioned at the start here that these units were not just simple apartments, but they were more like homes. Like, can you expand on that? They're supposed to be multi-level homes? Because looking at this, it looks like plain apartments.
Okay, on the interior, I'll just show you in a minute. On the interior, there's a walkway that's 8 feet wide going all the way around.
Okay.
Okay, and you're looking into the center, you know, into a park-like area into the center. It'll be exterior. This is an exterior walkway.
Okay, yeah.
So everybody, every home is going to have their own front door
Off of this exterior
off of
walkway.
this exterior
Okay,
walkway.
and the homes are all at one level?
Yes,
Yes,
So basically apartment.
the apartment, like a 4-story motel with a walkway, except the walkway is not 3 or 4 feet at a motel, but this one is 8 feet wide. So you can have a table and you can have breakfast outside your room and these people can still walk by.
but you'll be able to have fresh air going from the front door to the balcony, facing either north, south, east, or west. And it'll be a whole,
I'm sorry, I don't understand this. You've got the walkway,
Yeah.
and then you go in through your front door, and then you have to go up the stairs to each level?
No, there's no stairs. It's on each level.
Oh,
there'll
there's a
be,
walkway on
there's
each
3
level.
elevators going up. I'll just show you. Okay, right here. Okay, you see, when you drive in here,
Yes.
there's the parking lot underneath,
Yes.
and this is the top of the parkade, okay? So then you go into the elevator,
Yes.
and then you exit here, and then there's an 8-foot walkway all the way around
On each floor.
on each floor.
Ah,
And then you have your front doors off of this walkway, so there's one front door there.
no, that's okay, now I understand. I
Yes.
thought this was just one walkway down.
No. So there's actually 4 floors, each have their own walkway. And then the front door is here, so you go in here, but you also have your back balcony. So it's almost like a house on, stacked houses.
One of the features of this stacked housing is there's a new system out, in fact, it's in the Settler Pub, it's called Lumen Windows. If you look at their deck out there now, it's got the Lumen system, and that means that you can close off your balcony with a glass wall, and you can put infrared light on the ceiling and you've got an extra room.
Enjoy your
Okay.
balcony.
And
in
enjoy
the
your
winter.
balcony in the
Yes.
middle of winter.
Or you can close it off if the noise is too loud outside, you know, if there's rowdiness or
So
whatever. you
every,
can
so
close it
every
off.
unit is equipped with one of these.
Okay, thank you. Ken, could you, we're good?
Sorry, every unit is equipped with one of these, how?
Oh, basically, the balcony is enclosed with,
Balcony
four
facing the road.
Folding glass windows.
The balcony facing the road.
yes,
Okay, got it.
Yes, yeah.
Okay, right, I did have another question.
Yes,
Okay, on the 75 to the 89
Percent.
lot, whatever that bylaw is, the increase,
The lot
there's
coverage,
a 20% increase
Mhm.
in the footprint that's built into this. And that may be okay for some structures, but I think that the whole project is, and the people are paying the cost of that 20% because any spare space on that diagram that we see is in the courtyard that will benefit only the people that live there. The exterior, whatever the setbacks are, and I think that your definition of the setback shows that it should be 7.5, I think it is, because it is a residential building. But I'm not happy to see the increase in the footprint when it's done the way it's done. There might be a way of doing it, but when you push this building to the extremes of its property line, our whole community loses. This is Harrison's, Granville and Hastings.
Okay,
And
you're assuming that it's to the property line, it's not. On Hot Springs Road, it's 19 feet to the parkade wall. 19 feet is about, let's see. it's
from here, this is
one-
one room wall to another step. There's not even,
This is 19
I'm going by
feet.
the diagram. The
Yeah.
diagram shows
No, it's
Okay.
19 feet from the property line.
okay, if
to
we
the
could
wall.
just have order, if we-
Yes.
please. I think the thing that we're talking about here is that, as Ken pointed out, this is a C1 area, and the C1 is allowed to build up to certain points within the property. What's confusing is that the diagrams that were presented to council, which I copied from theirs, are limited in detail, so they're very difficult to see exactly where the building boundary is. And I think that it would benefit council, it would benefit this commission, it would benefit the staff when they're looking at development permits to have more complete information when they're looking at it, because then our comments become more informed and we can keep them more condensed because we have the information at hand. It just makes it easier for everybody to visualize what's going in there and make comments that are appropriate based on more complete review of the information.
I would like to add something. There's another feature of this place that that indoor private area for our own private park. Well, we would like to see that in a way being turned back to the community and a club being organized for seniors,
Basically membership.
strictly membership, that you can come in there and we have nice breakfast served in that. 1,500 square feet of amenity space that will be available for rent in the middle of downtown. And it's for seniors, basically.
Okay,
one of
that
the,
is, yes, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, as I mentioned in the report, as of today's date, there's been no offer of any public realm amenities.
Right.
And that's,
And that was one of the 5 concern comments that was made. And I think, that just brings to the point again, is more clarity, more detail enables people to have less concerns, less questions, and more things answered. If you would again, Ken, read the text amendments for the zoning bylaw
certainly,
change.
it's on the last page of your report.
Yes,
I'll read that. Under the C1 zone development regulations for the commercial uses, the following number 11 is inserted in the notes section. Under the notes section, the following is inserted. Number 11, for land legally described as Lot A, Block 2, Section 13, Township 4, Range 29, west of the 6th Meridian, New Westminster District, Plan 251, PID 002-223-457. The maximum allowable floor area ratio must not exceed 1.8. That's up from 1.5. The lot coverage must not exceed 89.93%. That's up from the current permitted 75%. And the maximum height must not exceed 17.61 meters. That's up from the currently allowed 15 meters.
Okay. Any further comments?
I did have one question.
Yes,
You mentioned in your report about drainage,
Yes.
that later on there would be a drainage report after the public meeting. Isn't that right?
What we need, yes, what has to happen is all of this information is collected. And then including what the staff comments are, what the comments were at the public notification meeting, what the fire department has said, what the Ministry of Transportation and Infrastructure said, and what the, did I say public notification? Yeah, and the public hearing itself, all of that information that deals with land use specific issues goes back in front of council, and then we say to council, one of the things that was identified was drainage. Did you want a drainage report? Yes or no? If council says yes, then that becomes a requirement, but it's after the public hearing and before the final adoption of the bylaw.
Okay, thank you.
On drainage itself, there are methods of working with drainage, and mechanical engineers are very well working. One of the ways you can do it is by having a tank. When it rains, you develop a tank, and then you let the water out of it slowly.
that's fine. That's beyond our purview here, I think. I would like to make a motion. And the motion I would like to make is that we recommend that this go back to council, and that council consider the comments that we have made here that are minuted, that they get a copy of the CEPTED report and review that report to see if there are any crime prevention concerns. And that further, they get specific detail on the project construction and the phasing information in particular. And then that they consider the changes to the zoning, and if those conditions are met, that they look at acceptance of that.
Are you talking about these 5 major issues that were identified in the report, Mr. Chair, or?
They have the 5 issues there. They did not talk about, they said there's a CEPTED report was done in May.
Yes.
They didn't say that they had received it, they had looked at it, or that they had considered it. So I'm saying that they should receive it, look at it, and consider that as part of their decision-making process. They should also have more detail in the layout of it. I understand it's a development permit issue, but I think council should see more detail so that they know what the project looks like in more detail, as well as the phasing.
Yes, and they will when the development permit, if council passes this bylaw, then the next stage is the development permit, and all of that information comes back again, yes.
My motion was that they get that
Yeah.
information when they are looking at passing this bylaw, so that they have that that's the motion that
Yeah.
I made.
I have one comment.
If you would, there's a motion before the floor at the moment, please. Do I have a seconder for that motion? Okay, we don't have a seconder for that motion? Okay. Then it's gone. Okay. So there's,
Can I make a point here?
yes,
We have looked at the 5 points, but we have not looked at the height issue. We addressed some of these points, the 5 points that we are meant to consider. We did not consider the height issue.
Isn't the height part of it?
I wanted to talk about that. That was what I.
Yeah, it is part of.
I wanted to point out that there is in the zoning bylaw there is a clause in there under the definition of height, which says that height can be raised up to 18 meters with things like stairway going up to the roof and for an elevator penthouse stairway, and you can then go up to 18 meters. And we are providing an elevator, which will probably require that penthouse, and our stairways for easy access for working with mechanical equipment, for lots of it on the roofs. Both stairways will have trapdoor, and you're on the roof taking stairs up. You're not climbing up shaky ladders or wall ladders and all to get up there for maintenance.
So what you're allowed is you're allowed to do the 15 meters, and if your elevator shaft, your equipments and everything else needs to be on the top, that can go up another 3 meters to 18,
Yes.
and not to exceed 18 meters.
And what is the height here then, because I don't see this.
17.3. Excuse me,
Does that include these,
17.61 meters.
does that include these?
That's what
extra-
they're looking for, yes.
So I guess, what would be the height then of, from, like on this view here? From top of the peak, basically top of the roof line? Excluding any elevator shafts and so on, top of the roof line that you would see like here to the road, what would that height be approximately? Do we know?
Again, that's when the building permit application comes out, because then we've got our scales and we can measure everything. These are all renderings at this particular point in time with no scales.
Yeah, but this is the part of the bylaw change.
Yes, and to see, and what we're looking at is trying to understand what the impacts could be because of these changes.
Mhm.
If we support, if council proceeds with this bylaw, what are the impacts? Like what we were talking about, the drainage, the traffic, all of those sorts of things that we gotta start looking at. The height situation, is there gonna be a sunshade area? All of those issues are what we gotta look at, more so than just what it's going to look like. I know that's important, because it's a segue into a very important region of the village. But right now, what's in front of us is to deal with the impacts. How's the traffic flow? What's the traffic flow? What's the fire department? Are they capable to go up that high? Do they have the equipment to go to the 4th floor? That sort of stuff.
Fifth floor, really.
Or fifth floor, sorry.
So,
Yeah,
parking. yeah.
my apologies,
No,
yes, yes. All of those sorts of things is what we gotta look at and try to understand. And we also have to remember too, in this process, that if they did not need to do the text amendment to this can proceed. If they stayed within the 75%, if they stayed below the 15 meters, if they stayed, their floor area ratio was at 1.5, they wouldn't need to do this. But because they're trying to make it a little bit bigger, how does that impact the village? Does it impact my site? As I was saying, does it impact the sun-shaded ratio or the sun-shaded areas? Does it impact traffic? Because we were talking about that earlier. We don't know what's gonna happen with the traffic side of things. To be honest, we don't. And we gotta wait till we see what the Ministry of Transportation is going to say. And then maybe council's gonna require additional information from what the Ministry of Transportation has added already. They may come back and say, we're not concerned. I doubt it, but this is what may happen. But the big focus right now is if we do this amendment, what are the impacts gonna be? I'm sorry, I'm repeating myself many times, but that's the issue that we're gonna look at.
I just have something to say. We did consider actually bringing down the roof lines, but we thought we can't do this to Harrison. Because if we did a similar thing like the old Ramada Inn, you know, that hotel that's behind the Husky, I mean, that would look absolutely awful without any roof lines. But it's allowable. And if we just wanted to build it and say the hell with it, this is what we would end up with, just a flat roof, flat tar roof. But that's, you know,
In that same argument, the floor area ratio and the floor area ratio can be easily met by not providing a roof to the parking lot. So the parking lot would have that nice walkways going all the way around, looking at a sea of cars below.
We could bring down the ratio by doing this. Instead of the park in front, in the center space. We would leave it open to the air, you'd look down over the rail and you'd see a sea of parking. There you go. That's what it would look like. And so if we had to take the roof of the parking lot off to come in with the ratio, there's no point heating the parkade anymore. So then there's no point in having walls on the parkade either. So then what we would do is we would have just an on-grade parkade with a chain link fence all around for security. And that's not very attractive for Harrison.
This, I would beg to disagree with that comment because it's an form and character requirement
Yes.
and the guidelines have to be addressed and no chain link fences are allowed.
Well, we would have something similar though, but it would be an open air. It wouldn't be enclosed.
Okay,
I think that we're dealing with hypotheticals.
yeah, I understand, but we've got design guidelines to address
Yes.
comments like this.
So where are we at?
It's up to the APC to decide what you figure is a priority for, or what you figure is an impact on this, for this change. What are the concerns? Do you want to have council address the drainage issue? You want to have council to address the fire safety issue? You want to have council to address the transportation issue, the public amenity issue, the affordable housing issue? What other impacts?
But this would be recommending, what you're saying is our option is to recommend the bylaw with these provisos.
You don't have to recommend. Please, don't misunderstand me. You have that option to say, we don't want it, we don't like it, because it goes against the character or it goes whatever it is that you want to say. But if you want to make a recommendation of acceptance, the thing you got to look at is what are the impacts? And what do you think that the council should be looking at further to alleviate those impacts?
But conversely, we could say,
We don't like it,
we
yeah,
don't recommend the bylaw because
exactly.
the same thing.
And you can't just say because we don't like it.
No, I'm not saying
Yeah.
that. I'm saying-
No, I know, but I'm just saying you can't put that in there. It's like going to a public hearing and somebody says, no, I don't like the bylaw. Well, I'm sorry, but
No,
that doesn't help us.
Okay, so do you want me to flow the
Mr.
motion?
Chairman.
No,
Oh, sorry.
go on.
I feel that we're being squeezed into a corner here somehow, and
Mhm.
I don't think council did anything on purpose at all in forwarding the zoning to us. I'm particularly opposed right now to increasing that 75 because I'm concerned about what they can do with that extra space. I mean, when I look at the rendering that you showed on your phone from Little Wet Side, this is downtown, this is the main intersection. Can you imagine being a pedestrian walking along there and the only thing you've got on the right-hand side as you walk is a concrete wall?
There's 19 feet between the sidewalk and the.
But I'm just saying that that's only one of my concerns. It just isn't the right type of facility for the location it's in such an important corner for the village. I'm concerned that you've got that one entrance. It'll be interesting when the fire people look at this. It's one thing to fight something from outside. What about the courtyard? What if there's something on that side? Can they get in there? I don't know that, and that's not on our bailiwick. But I'm just saying that it is a C1. Residential is allowed, but so is commercial. There is no commercial space here. And I think that especially in that location, you need commercial space as pedestrians going by. And then I know that's beyond our scope of consideration, but that's the frustration I feel because we're squeezed into this. And I don't want to facilitate it by allowing this zoning thing to say, okay, you've got 20% more extra space to use up, how are you gonna do it? I don't feel I can support that.
Mr. Chairman, if you wish, and it's the pleasure of the Advisory Planning Commission, you can make that recommendation that you would like to see commercial retail units as part of this package. You have that ability. You can amend whatever you wish, you can reject it, or accept it.
But we're talking about the bylaw again.
The bylaw, just the bylaw, yeah.
See, I would be okay with the proposal if there was something of interest to tourists as they walk by the building. Like maybe an ice cream shop or I don't know, something. Even like a farmer's market type thing where things can be set up, that sort of thing. What do you think?
Yes, I agree. I agree. This is what I came back.
Essentially, what we've got here is tantamount to the old type of fortress. It's okay for people on the inside, but on the outside, it's. And we just have to have more function for the
Okay.
community itself, so
Can I
I'm
mention
sorry.
Can I mention?
It's up to the chair, but.
Okay, we did consider commercial, but then we also did look at the building, the Harrison Lakeview Resort. And from the day that they built that building, they haven't been able to lease that commercial out. That was one of the things that we've.
There's 3 spaces in there, they're both papered up over the windows for the last 5 years.
Yeah. Now, we're on the corner of a highway. Little Wet is a highway, it's very wide. Hot Springs Road is a highway, it's also fairly wide. There's going to be commercial on the Husky site. There's a shopping center across the street from them. That whole area in there is all going to end up as a commercial space, from what I can see. People don't feel comfortable shopping, crossing a big highway and then just going to 1 or 2 stores, that are in there. I mean, first of all, I'm sure you know how difficult it is for commercial to make it in Harrison Hot Springs. The people who own the stores are just ready to sell and just move out because they're not making, they're not subsisting.
Okay,
Yeah.
we've got your comment
Yeah.
on that. So where do we go from this? The things that you want to have considered by council?
If I put a motion forward, let's just see if it flies. Okay, my motion would be that we do not recommend these bylaw and zoning changes, and that our concerns are listed, and we can list our concerns.
As such, yeah.
Exactly.
Yep, and that's why we are not recommending this.
Yes, Amanda?
If there's a motion, sorry, we'll need a seconder, I guess, in the motion, but if you do have concerns, the APC is a body making a recommendation, so I will take your concerns into the minutes for sure, but there needs to be consensus
Yes,
on the
yeah,
concerns.
Of course,
Yes, of course,
For
and we
clarity
go back
too.
to,
Okay.
we
I
go
don't
back
want
to
it to
the.
just rely on the minutes, I want it to.
No, that's
clear,
fine, and
yeah.
I was just saying, I've got to find them.
Okay.
Where is the five
Oh,
concerns?
on page 9.
Okay, so if we look at the concerns, 5 major issues. The first one was that we had concerns about the 75 to 89.95 site coverage. And that was our concern. We also had a concern with traffic flow and patterns. We had a concern with the safety issues, but we knew that that report is going to council. They would have to look at that and the fire department. We had a concern with rental housing and the provision that could be short-term rental. We had a concern with that. And then we had a concern with whether this is the right building for the downtown village area entering into the tourist area. Was that?
So if I can add a couple things to that. The question about the phasing.
Oh, question about phasing. yes, I
Phasing,
agree.
how is that supposed to be? Phase 1, phase 2, all one? Okay, so that needs to be clarified.
Yeah,
Okay, and what would be involved in a potential phase 1, phase 2? Right? And also that there is no commercial, there are no commercial opportunities.
No.
Okay, and that one, you can't really dictate to a landowner that you want to see this, but you would like to see some,
So how can we word that?
you would like to
We
see
would like to
some.
see some commercial.
Yeah. We understand that the owner can say no, but we'd still like to see some.
Yep, good, thank you.
I to some extent can understand that feeling for commercial. The problem is,
I'm sorry, we have a motion that's.
Yes.
Please, thank you.
Okay.
Do we have that recorded, Amanda?
And did you want to talk about the public amenities,
Yeah,
no public realm improvements?
yeah,
Yes,
we want to see what, we want to know what that would be.
Through the chair, are you, Andy, are you making a motion?
no,
I'm
he
adding,
was helping.
I'm adding to
Okay.
it, yes.
I need somebody to say it loud enough so I know what it says.
Okay, good
Did
luck.
you read it?
Okay, so it was moved by Judy. The APC will not be recommending this bylaw amendment and has the following concerns. Concerns regarding the increase in site coverage, from 75% to 89.93%. Concerns regarding the impact to the flow of traffic. Safety concerns, and would like to recommend that council have the opportunity to review the SEPTED report. The fourth concern is regarding rental housing and the ability for short-term rentals to be in that building. Fifth concern is concerns that it's not the right building for the entrance area into the village. An amendment by Andy regarding also that there's a, would like clarification on the phasing of the project. And would like to see some commercial use. And a concern regarding a lack of public realm improvements.
Thank you.
That's the motion we have.
On the traffic one, can we be more specific in like Cedar left turn onto Lovey, Husband's Road?
Yeah, flow and volume,
Yeah,
flow and volume issues.
So is there a second, you wanna make a second?
We have a seconder for that motion?
can I second it?
Yeah, you can second it. All in favor of the motion? Motion's carried. I think that's the only thing that we had on our agenda.
Amended agenda.
The amended agenda, we had an item B.
Mr.
Amanda,
Chairman,
could you read?
I propose that motion to be dealt with. I would like at this point to withdraw it as a motion at this, but it serves as a notice of motion for our next meeting.
You've lost me.
He doesn't want to discuss.
Oh, you don't want it?
Item B had to
Item B.
do with process.
You wanted added on to next meeting.
But what I'd like to do is defer it and just have this serve as a notice of motion re our process.
Okay,
A notice of motion.
So we'll have it on the next agenda.
yes,
Okay, just for everybody's information, inside of the Local Government Act, there's a tool under section 943, Development Approval Information. There's 5 issues in there that council can ask a developer to do an impact analysis on the environment, the traffic, sewer and water, how it's going to impact the schools, how it's going to impact any of the services of the village. It is not in the current official community plan. It is in the draft proposed official community plan. Once that bylaw gets adopted, then we can have that as another tool so that we all understand what the impacts are going to be. And inside of that report, the developer also, if there's any impacts that are negative or whatever, they are required to fund what that the mitigation study. And then that becomes part of the servicing agreement that they are required to do whatever, a $400,000 streetlight upgrade or whatever it's gonna be. So that's in the bylaw that's been not adopted yet.
Okay.
Just so you know.
So we've covered all items for discussion in this meeting then?
Yeah, if everyone approves to, I guess we're amending the agenda, that part of it, to, or moving to table that item to the next.
We're gonna table that to the
Okay,
next one.
so that was a move from Alan.
Seconder for that? All in favor, move it to the next one? Yes, okay, done. All that's left is the adjournment for the meeting then.
So motion and seconder and
I
then.
move that we adjourn the meeting, seconder.
Best part of the meeting.
Carried.
Merry Christmas. Thank you very much.